Welcome to Movie Review Mom. If this is the very first time you found my channel, yay, you're here. I'm so glad. However, I have to apologize for looking and sounding terrible. I have been so sick, and I want to thank those of you who subscribe and follow my channel for reaching out and saying, "Are you okay? Where are you?" Because it's been about a week or more, I don't even know, since I've had the energy to even make a movie review. Oh, anyway, I am so grateful for your support. And normally I post reviews every day or movie trailer reactions every day. And anyway, again, I apologize that I just haven't had the energy. What's crazy is I've been sick in bed and been able to watch a ton of movies, but haven't had the energy to review them for you. So these are going to be a little bit older. Normally, I like to review them before they come out because I get screeners from the studios to give you the heads up. But in this case, this movie that I'm talking about today is now out in theaters. All right, and let me tell you what the movie is. Of course, you already know from the thumbnail of the video, but the movie I'm reviewing today is called Nobody. It's available in theaters only, and I don't know when it's going to go to streaming. Now that some things are starting to open up, it's taking a little bit longer for some of these films to make it to our home TVs and computers. But anyway, I'm excited to tell you about this movie. It's rated R. It's an hour and 32 minutes. And I'll give you my score at the end of my review. But first, I'm going to give you an overview in a nutshell. I'll point out things I liked and didn't like about the movie, as well as give tips for parents. And the biggest tip is this is not a family friendly movie. Um, and I'll even give you some recommendations for other movies that are sort of similar that I think you might also enjoy, as well as talk about some themes that are interesting that the movie presents. All right, so first, in a nutshell, Emmy winner Bob Odenkirk, who's best known for Better Call Saul, The Post, and Nebraska, stars as Hutch Mansell, an underestimated and overlooked suburban dad and husband, taking life's indignities on the chin and never pushing back. A real nobody, right? Then two thieves break into his house one night, and Hutch declines to defend himself or his family, hoping to prevent serious violence. In other words, he's very meek and laid back, not laid back, but he's not aggressive and he doesn't fight them. And so his teenage son, Blake, who's played by Gage Monroe from The Shack, is disappointed in him, and his wife, Becca, who's played by Connie Nielsen, who we've recently seen in Wonder Woman, seems to pull farther away. They're just kind of ashamed that he's kind of a schmuck. Well, the aftermath of this incident strikes a match to Hutch's long simmering rage, triggering dormant instincts and propelling him on a brutal path that will surface dark secrets, gunfire, and lethal skills. In a barrage of fists, gunfire, and squealing tires, Hutch must save his family from a dangerous adversary, the famed Russian actor Alexei Serebryakov, who we've seen in Amazon's McMafia, and ensure that he will never be underestimated as a nobody ever again. Well, that's sort of the synopsis of the movie. But let me tell you about some of the things that I really liked. First of all, Bob Odenkirk. He got his start actually as a writer for Saturday Night Live, the TV show, and his comic shops absolutely show in this dark comedy of sorts. I love that his character isn't a perfect action hero or superhero, but just kind of a hopeful, everyday guy who's just a flawed man. The story actually came from Bob Odenkirk, whose own house in real life actually was burglarized. And he was frustrated with how the local authorities handled the situation in the aftermath of the case. And he thought about what he wished could have happened and how he wished he could have been able to take care of the trespassers in his own way, if you know what I mean. So a lot of people are comparing this movie to the John Wick franchise because of the big action sequences and stunts and even the vibe of the movie. However, this movie doesn't have quite the same sophistication or depth of character development, despite being written by the same guy who wrote all three John Wick movies, Derek Kolstad. What makes this movie work, I think, is that the protagonist, played by Bob Odenkirk, who represents this everyday man, is surprisingly awesome as an action star. There are some really funny and hardcore action sequences. And Bob Odenkirk actually did all of his own stunts, which is pretty impressive. Like the wide angle lens shots in the John Wick movies, the fight scenes in this movie are pretty amazing to watch. The camera work is very creative and really good. There's this one action sequence, which I think is the best in the entire movie, that takes place in a bus, a very small space. They use a wide angle and they practice this fight sequence for months. And it shows the choreography is awesome and hilarious. What makes Bob Odenkirk's character so appealing is that he's not a superhero. Instead, he's this average guy who takes a ton of punches and yet keeps going. Anyone who's ever seen Back to the Future adores Christopher Lloyd, who also appears in the movie. He and Bob Odenkirk actually share the same birthday, which is October 22nd. And kudos to 82-year-old Christopher Lloyd, who also stars in another movie that recently came out, starring William Shatner, called Senior Moment. You can actually watch my movie review of that here on YouTube as well. Now, the director of this movie is Ilya Naishuller, and he's best known for the movie Hardcore Henry. And there are some moments where I was like, yeah, this movie reminds me of that film, if you've seen it. Although that one definitely has more of a video game film quality to it. This movie looks at everyday life, and I think a lot of people can relate to the drudgery of everyday life that puts them in a rut and that the protagonist finds himself in at the beginning of the movie. So keep watching after the rolling credits at the end for a bonus scene. And then finally, another thing that I loved is actually the movie poster. It just instantly made me laugh the very first time I saw it. And I thought, okay, this movie is going to have action, obviously, but also a sense of humor and a sense of self-awareness. And it has all of those things. So with that great praise, there are a few things that I didn't like or that I thought could have been handled better. For example, the movie is just over the top and completely ridiculous. So that's actually a thing I liked about it as well as didn't like about it. There are also a lot of scenes that occur at night. So the screen is dark, which is going to make it difficult for viewing once the movie does finally go to streaming. Another thing that I think could have been handled better is the villain. He is actually a super weak character, the main villain, I should say, because there are other characters that the protagonist has to deal with. There isn't a whole lot of character development, and the entertaining aspect of Bob Odenkirk's everyday man kind of fades by Act 3. As it turns out, he does have a certain set of skills that most of us regular people don't possess. There's an entertaining musical score during action sequences, but by Act 3, it actually becomes a little bit tired because it's used, that element is used over and over again. Now, let me give you some tips for parents. As I mentioned, the movie is extremely violent with a high body count with blood and gore. There are lots of weapons of various kinds. Innocent people are placed in very dangerous situations. There's lots of profanity, including F-bombs, and it's just a kind of a brutal movie in general. However, there are some themes that are presented and illustrated well in the movie, that of family, manhood, revenge, vigilante justice, hope, and taking control of your life, not just being a pawn or reacting, but actually taking control. I always write down funny lines and interesting lines when I watch movies, and I include them in my written review at moviereviewmom.com. So you can go check those out there. But I'll share a couple of them here with you right now. So one of the funny lines is spoken by Bob Odenkirk's character, and some bad guys stole some stuff from his house. And so he's able to track them down, and he says in his menacing, manly voice, "Give me the kitty cat bracelet." That's his daughter's bracelet that they steal. And then an interesting line is also spoken by Bob Odenkirk, and he says to his dad, played by Christopher Lloyd, he says, "There's this thing I gotta do." And his dad looks at him and says, "Then you best go do it," knowing he was probably going to get in trouble. And I thought that that was interesting, showing support. All right, so you want to know what grade I'm giving this movie? I'm giving it a B. I actually really got a kick out of it, but it's not going to be everyone's cup of tea. So I'm trying to give you the heads up on what content to expect. So my job is to give you an overview so that you do have an idea of the content so you can make the best decision for you and your family as to whether or not you want to spend your time and money watching a specific film. So let me recommend some other films you might consider watching also if you end up really liking this one, or vice versa. If you like the ones I'm going to recommend, then you might like this one. So the first one, of course, is John Wick. Now, that's not everybody's cup of tea either. It's very violent, very brutal, lots of F-bombs. And so this is not family viewing at all. But Keanu Reeves is just ultra cool and amazing and awesome and epic. So there's that. Another series is Jack Reacher, played by Tom Cruise. He also has a certain set of skills as a former retired military man, but he gets in trouble and he's got to take some vigilante justice into his own hands. Anyway, that's a fun movie. Also, with another similar theme of vigilante justice is The Equalizer with Denzel Washington, who's amazing. So there are a couple of those that I think are a lot of fun. And then another movie that instantly came to my mind is one called Falling Down, where the everyday guy without any certain set of skills, he truly is an everyday man. He can't take it anymore and craziness ensues. And I think so many people are going to be able to relate to that movie as we watch the crazy world around us during this whole pandemic. And how, anyway, a lot of people are going to be able to relate to that. All right, that is it for my review today. Hopefully I'll have energy to do another one soon. And until then, stay healthy, be happy, choose joy, and I will catch you in my next movie review. Bye for now.